Did a Persian slave secretly rule the world's greatest empire? You've seen the maps of Alexander's conquests. You know about the phalanxes and the battles. But history has conveniently forgotten the man who was whispering in the king's ear while the world burned. This is the story of Bagoas, and he might be the most dangerous person in the entire Persian court. See, when we think of Alexander the Great, we picture this stoic, masculine Greek hero. But towards the end of his life, Alexander wasn't acting like a Greek. He was acting like a Persian king of kings. He was wearing the robes, demanding people bow to him, and executing his oldest friends. And standing right behind him in the shadows, that was Bagoas. So, who was this guy? And how did he manage to terrify the toughest generals in the Macedonian army? Here's the thing you have to understand about the Persian Empire. A eunuch wasn't just a servant. In the Persian court, they were power players. They were the gatekeepers. They controlled who got to see the king and who didn't. Bagoas had been a favorite of Darius III, the Persian king Alexander defeated. He knew where the bodies were buried. He knew how the empire actually worked. When Alexander took over, he didn't just take Darius's gold. He took Bagoas. Now, this is where it gets messy. The Greek historians, guys like Curtius Rufus, absolutely hated Bagoas. They describe him as this beautiful monster. They claim he used his looks to seduce Alexander and then twisted the king's mind against his own people. But is that true? Or is there a darker mystery here? Let's look at the evidence. There's a specific incident that makes you wonder who was really pulling the strings. It involves a Persian noble named Orxines. Orxines was a satrap, a governor. Rich, powerful, old money. When Alexander marched his army back from India, Orxines came out to meet him with massive gifts. We're talking gold, horses, jewels for the soldiers. He gave gifts to everyone. Everyone. Except Bagoas. Orxines was old school. He told people, "I pay tribute to the king's friends, not his bedroom slaves." Big mistake. Bagoas didn't get mad. He got even. A few days later, rumors started swirling. Bagoas hired some local peasants to give false testimony. He whispered to Alexander that Orxines had been looting the royal tombs, specifically the tomb of Cyrus the Great, a man Alexander idolized. Before Orxines could even defend himself, Alexander had him arrested. And then, he was executed. Think about that. A powerful governor, loyal to the empire, wiped out because he snubbed the king's favorite. This wasn't just a love affair. This was a political hit. But here is the real question I want you to consider. Was Bagoas actually a villain? Or was he the perfect scapegoat? See, by this point in the timeline, Alexander was becoming paranoid. He was drinking heavily. He was killing off his own generals like Parmenion and Clytus. The Greeks were horrified. They couldn't believe their golden boy had turned into a cruel tyrant. So, they needed someone to blame. They couldn't blame Alexander, he was a god. So they blamed the barbarian. They blamed the Persian eunuch. It's a classic move. The king is good, he's just being corrupted by bad advisors. It's a lot easier to say, the evil Persian made him do it, than to admit your hero has turned into a monster. But there's one moment that suggests the bond between them was real, and it drove the Greeks absolutely crazy. It happened at a theatre festival. Alexander is sitting there, surrounded by his hardened veterans, men who have marched thousands of miles, bled for him, died for him. And Bagoas wins a dancing contest. The crowd, mostly Persians and mixed troops, starts cheering. They start chanting for Alexander to kiss him. And he does. Right there, in front of the entire army. The place goes wild. But for the old-school Macedonians, this was the final nail in the coffin. Their king embracing a Persian eunuch in public? It was a symbol that they had lost him. He wasn't theirs anymore. He belonged to Persia. Bagoas survived Alexander. He survived the wars that tore the empire apart after Alexander died. He navigated the most dangerous court in human history and came out on top. So, was he a manipulator who destroyed Alexander's legacy? Or was he a brilliant survivor in a world that wanted him dead? History is written by the winners, and the Greeks wrote the history books. They wanted Bagoas to be the villain. But if you were in his shoes, a man with no family, no official rank, surrounded by soldiers who hated you, wouldn't you use every weapon you had to stay alive? I want to know what you think. Was Bagoas the mastermind behind Alexander's downfall? Or was he just a convenient excuse for a king who had lost his mind? Let me know in the comments.